Dave Merritt is a pastor and entrepreneur who has leveraged his experience playing Division I college basketball to fulfill his dreams. He has been able to keep his accountability in getting things done by closely following the teachings and values he has learned from the Bible. His greatest strength is truly knowing people and understanding their value system. Let's find out how. All right, so here we are with Mr. Dave Merritt. He's an all-state basketball player. Walked on to University of Michigan in, I believe, 2007?
2006.
2006. And he was the captain of the University of Michigan basketball team. In light of that as well, he's an entrepreneur and a pastor. So I could describe who Dave Merritt is, but can you tell the listeners who is Dave Merritt?
Well, I am a believer. I love to serve God, and my parents started the Straight Gate International Church in Detroit 42 years ago. And so now me and my brother are associate pastors working with our parents. And so if you were to ask me like what my number one role is, and that would be it, being able to help people in their spiritual walk and to really reach the vision that God blessed my parents with 42 years ago to reach the city, nation, and world for Jesus Christ. So, yeah, I just see myself as a servant and fortunate enough and blessed enough to have a number of endeavors that I get to serve people. But that's where I see my ministry at is just serving.
So your father's a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother's a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pastor. Did you feel
My mom's
that
a pastor.
Your mom's a pastor too.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were compelled or you had to be a pastor just because of the lineage?
Well, when I was younger, it was very interesting because people in the church, people around would always say things to me at a very young age and just would say things. You didn't ask them to say it, but you're going to be this and you're going to be that. And I'm like, leave me alone. Like, no, I'm not. Like, let me live my life. And I think deep down, I knew that was what I was supposed to do, but I didn't want someone else to make that decision for me. And so, I accepted Christ into my life, I think when I was 6. But through middle school and high school, I kind of ran from that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of do what I wanted to do, and didn't think it was fair that just because my parents were pastors, like, what does that have to do with me? And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way for parents that have started businesses or there's something that's going on in their family, and, you're like, well, why does that mean that I have to follow in their footsteps? But so, yeah, there was some of that as I was growing up.
Okay, so take me from high school, all-state basketball player, and you always knew you're going to the University of Michigan, or you always knew that you're going to the NBA? Are you still chasing those hoop dreams?
No hoop dreams. I'm kind of old at this point. But no, see, me and my brother had always played basketball. Basketball was very important to us. When we were born, we were fortunate enough, our family had season tickets to go see the Bad Boys play in Auburn Hills, so we would go with our grandfather on like a weekly basis to see Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars and Dennis Rodman, all those guys, and quickly fell in love with the game. We were fortunate enough to have cable, and we would watch basketball all the time, and we had a hoop outside, and so we both started playing and continued to play. But I also kind of went a different way where my brother just kind of strictly played basketball. I was very interested in other sports. I would play soccer and football and golf and tennis, and I would just try anything and everything. But when we got to high school, my brother's 3 years older than me, and he was an all-state. He was first-team all-state basketball player at West Bloomfield. At that point, was 6'7". I was like 5'7". And he came to me one day and he's like, yo, Dave, if you really want to play basketball in college, you're going to have to do more focus and have more focus on basketball as opposed to playing all these other sports. And after that conversation, I was like, yeah, I do want to play basketball, and I do want to play Division I basketball. I don't just want to play any basketball. And so it was at that moment that I really decided and was fortunate enough to have a few friends who were really working hard on their game, and I went with them and just started working and didn't stop working and kept working and got pretty good at basketball, but I was more of a late bloomer. So despite me averaging 25 points per game as a senior at West Bloomfield, one reason or not, I didn't get any Division I offers to play. And so I did get accepted into Michigan and was like, I really don't want to go to a small college, Division II college. Like, I want to have fun. I want to be with my friends. Basically, our whole high school was at West Bloomfield at the time. Was at the University of Michigan at the time. So I'll just go to Michigan and we'll just make the team as a walk-on. And so I went to Michigan, and it didn't. It took me 3 times to make it as a walk-on, but finally ended up making it that third year that I tried out, and finally could say that I was a Division I basketball player.
That's a great story. From what you said, though, you mentioned about being around your friends. Obviously, this is the My Dream Big Club podcast,
Yep.
and we're focused around being able to inspire and motivate people to dream big. And obviously, from what you're saying, is that you surrounded yourself with people who probably had a similar vision.
Mm-hmm.
How important was that in getting you to the right level?
It was very important, and I didn't really, I really didn't understand this or even think about this until a few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago. When you work hard, you're like always thinking, okay, yeah, I work hard, but you've probably seen some example, or you've had somebody in your life that you've modeled or has showed you how to do it, or has influenced you to work hard in the same manner. And so, a guy that we both know, Aaron Sebron, I just thought about this a few weeks ago. When I first got into high school, I was going with Aaron on like a consistent basis to go to the gym and to get shots up and get into the weight room. It wasn't just that I loved working out, but I was just going with him, and that's like what his regimen was. Yeah. And quickly got into it and like loved the process and loved being able to get better. And so I think that was a really big moment for me getting into high school and learning, like, okay, you lift weights for this reason. You train for this reason. And once I got a taste of it, like, it didn't stop. And I wanted every single time that I had an opportunity to get better, I took advantage of it. There's some things when I got to Michigan, definitely even after Michigan, and learning more how to be a leader. If I could go back to that time frame, I would have been more aware that it's great that I was working out. It's great that I was working harder than anyone else. But really, I think it's on the responsibility as leaders to bring people along the way with you. So I wish if I could have gone back, that as much as I was working out, I then turned around and helped more teammates to get into the gym with me instead of, and it got to the point where my senior year, I was pretty good, but like some of my teammates weren't as good as me. And if I would have just picked them up on my way, or if I was just like, yo, you really, and shared what Aaron had shared with me and what other people had shared with me, maybe we would have been better my senior year in high school if I had taken that role.
Let's touch on that, though. So you're talking about being able to bring people up and to make sure that they can grow, right? Because the more they grow, the better your team is, just in general. As you relate that to even entrepreneurship, what are some things or some key things into bringing success? How do you make sure that the people that you're hiring or the people that you're working with, you're able to foster and develop them so that you can reach your goals?
Yeah, I think ultimately when it comes to business, one of the things that I've been really focused on as of late is making sure that it's not just going into business to go into business, but as we all know as entrepreneurs, we've probably seen the Simon Sinek video and about starting with why and finding your why. But I think also as business owners, we really have to differentiate what we're passionate about also and marry that to solving a real need and solving a real problem. I think sometimes we get very into what we're interested in, and that's important. But at the same time, just because I like basketball doesn't mean that there is a business opportunity for me to go into basketball or to provide a product that's basketball based. Like, I really have to find a problem and find something that I'm creating a solution for with my product or with my business. And it's not just things that I like to do. I think that's really, really important. And it's all about people and getting to know people, and we call it customer discovery, and getting into not only the sort of hobbies or likes and dislikes of people, but really knowing those people and finding what they believe and the value system that they have, so that you're solving a problem for a person. And if you continue to solve problems with your business and you have a great solution for that problem, chances are you're probably going to be successful, or at least have a business that's successful when it comes to revenue, because you're providing this solution. So I think a big sort of lesson that I'm continuing to learn and try to share with others is that when you are starting a business or when you have a business, what is the problem that your product or your solution is actually solving? And then making sure that that's connected to a person, because sometimes problems change. And if I'm really connected to people, and that's the reason I'm in business, even when those dislikes or those patterns change, I'll be prepared for that because I'm very targeted. I'm not as much product focused as I am people focused.
Yes. So just from the way you're talking, right, very inspirational from your stories and even the type of thought process you have in dealing with people and business. There's things that seem to be motivating you or even keeping your mind at a level set. What do you do, or what are some things and patterns that you have or strategies that you can share that really keeps you inspired or keeps you having a positive mindset in the things that you're doing?
Well, number one for me, it's my relationship with God. I think that's extremely important. Always dedicate when I wake up to time for prayer and praise and worship, reading my Bible and really making sure, especially as a pastor, you talk about practice what you preach. I really can't be telling people to do certain things or to be a certain way, and that is not reflective of my life, and that's not reflective of what I'm doing on a daily basis and what is my character, right? So I have to make sure that what I'm portraying is actually real, right? So I think that's extremely important. And then I think a large part comes down to discipline, especially as an entrepreneur. No one is, if you're the boss and you're an entrepreneur, probably your team's pretty small as you're getting going. No one's going to be telling you you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like you don't have a boss. You are your boss. And so when you're late, who's telling you that you're late? Like when you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing, who's telling you that? Like you have to tell yourself. You have to manage yourself, and that comes down to discipline. So I really have to ask myself, did I get better today? Did I put in my best effort today for what I'm going after? And that's what really makes entrepreneurship really special, is that you have to have this keen ability to evaluate your own self-performance, which for a lot of us is very, very hard. We like to go hard on other people, but most of the time we don't necessarily go as hard on ourselves, right? Because it's very hard to see ourselves when we're in our bodies. And so I think that's something that I try to be aware of stepping outside of myself and looking at myself and taking self-inventory of myself on what could I be doing better, or even just posing the question on a daily basis, did I get better today? And if I gave my best effort on that day, then I can be satisfied with that. And if I didn't, I have to just be aware of that and put necessary steps in place for me to have better self-discipline.
Yeah, so you talk about self-discipline, being self-motivated. Mm-hmm. As people and the things that we do, we look for perhaps an accountability partner to hold us accountable for what we're doing. Yep. Now, do you have accountability partners? Do you have mentors? Who makes sure that Dave Merritt does what he's supposed to do?
I would say God is God is my accountability partner. When I read that Bible and I see, bless those that curse you. It's like, hey, Dave, are you blessing those that may be against you? Like when it says forgive, like are you forgiving people who may have done something against you? So like I really believe reading the Bible is really important for the Bible reading us, and I can adjust where I need to based on what God's thoughts are about something. And then for me it really, I believe I'm my best self-critic.
Yeah.
Like you've gotta have it to where you are evaluating. It's just I've been very fortunate that most of the roles that I have are leadership roles. So that means no one else is telling me whether or not I'm doing a bad job or not. Like I really have to tell myself whether or not that's true. Mm-hmm. And so, I try to be as accountable personally as I can, and definitely have people that, mentors and people that help and that I can go to for advice. But ultimately on that daily basis, it's, you're talking to yourself and what are you telling yourself? I think that's very important because you're going to talk to yourself regardless. Right. It's like, what are you telling yourself?
Yeah, which is great because from what you're saying is you have a ritual, going to the Bible, mm-hmm. being able to make sure that you are reading the Word and it's telling you how you should be directing your life and things that you should be doing. And on top of that, you've also seemed to be leveraging your mentors and how their experiences are helping to drive the things that you're doing. Mm-hmm. So, which seems like you have a great system to have a strong mindset, mm-hmm. right? And the question I have is when it comes to, even though you have that great system, we could even use the example of your time playing basketball. Do you ever feel like quitting, or how close have you come? And what story do you have that I almost quit, and this is what happened because I stuck it?
Yeah, so the Michigan experience definitely is that experience for me. As I said earlier in the podcast, that goal for me was started in the 9th grade, and I worked very, very, very hard throughout high school with that goal in mind. When I wasn't making the team, the 2 years that I didn't make it, finally made it the 3rd year, that was a daily pursuit for me, even though I was in school. I was going to the CCR building, the IM building on a daily basis, working out, making sure I was in shape, making sure I was still working on my game, playing intramurals. So it wasn't like I was just waiting until the tryout happened every year and just saying, oh, I'm okay at basketball. No, that was something that I was pursuing. And so the 2nd year that I didn't make it, because I had played so well in that tryout that year, because I had worked so hard, that at that point it was very hard for me, and I wasn't really understanding how that was possible when everyone in that gym knew that I was the best player that night, and I still didn't make the team. So I had to talk to myself for about 2 weeks to say, hey, do you want to keep doing this? Do you want to keep putting your body through this workout and still trying to be a good student at the same time that you're going to the gym every day? But it was at that moment, like, what do you want? Like, do you want it? And you got to decide that. Like, do you want it? And that's, I think, why you take it on a day-to-day basis, and why, God says, don't worry about tomorrow. Like, let's just focus on today. And it's a daily walk of faith. It's a daily walk of faith. Because if you look at it, I would have looked at it and said, hey, man, I've been working at this for 6 years, and I still don't have what I want. The problem with looking at it that way is that I should be looking at it just from 6 to 7. It's like, hey, all I got to do is work out one more year. Yeah. Like, all I got to do is work out one more day. And so I don't really need to reflect on the 6 because I'm that much closer to where I want to be.
Say 6 years to 7
years.
Yes,
let's just focus on the 6 to 7. Don't focus on the 6 that you've already worked. Like, that's done. Yeah. Like, let's just focus on today.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And so I was like, okay, I'll give it one more go. give it one more go, and finally made it. And and here's the thing, though. Even when I got on the team, I had a new goal. There was something new that I wanted. I wanted to play. And so, okay, we gotta keep working.
Yeah.
And then what happened was I finally started to play. I was Coach Amaker's last year. Played in the NIT tournament that year. Somebody got hurt. One of my teammates got hurt. Played in 2 NIT games after not playing pretty much for the entire year, and played well. And like even the team was like, "Man, maybe Dave should have been playing a little bit."
Yeah.
And Coach Amaker gets fired, and bring in Coach Beeline. Coach Beeline tells us, has a meeting with the walk-ons. He says, "Hey, I used to be a walk-on. I really appreciate what you guys do, but I can't guarantee you a spot on this team. My focus is just the scholarship players. In fact, you won't even be, participating in sort of the regular team stuff. Like you'll have to find times for you to work out in the gym. I mean, the gym is available to you, but you just won't be doing, everything that the team is doing."
It's like starting over.
Start right back over. I had to make the team again. Like after being on the team for that entire year, I had to make the team yet again. But it's like, yo, like what do you want? Like what do you want to do?
Yeah, but it seems like so you have that vision. You knew what you wanted. You knew what you wanted. Now, from what you're saying, why do you think that people fail?
I believe one is that we have a misconception of what failure is. I believe failure is more a destination that you only reach when you stop. So if you've learned from something and you're continuing and you're applying what you're learning to continue, then you haven't reached failure yet. Failure is only in your head. Like if you stop because of something, then that's when I believe you fail. But if you used whatever you're going through as a stepping stone, as a learning experience, as something that you can continue to grow from, I just think there's a difference between falling and failing.
So failing your way to success in a way?
No, I don't. Sometimes I go back and forth with, it's not that we're trying to fail.
Intentionally, right?
It's not that we're trying to fall, but that it may happen. It may occur. And what do you do when that happens, I think, is a testament to whether or not you're going to be successful. What we tell our young people a lot is like, it may not be this just straight upward mobility or this straight linear path to success. Like you may do all this type of stuff and it's okay, and it's just something that you got to continue even when you do mess up or you do fail, as most people would say. Like get back on the horse. Like let's go. Like let's learn. Let's grow.
So I'm going to give you the last word, and you were getting to that from what you were just saying. When it comes to inspiring and motivating others to dream big, what can you say to people that will keep them driven, keep them motivated, keep them going, making sure that they are not going to stop in reaching the things that they want to reach?
Yeah, I'll bring up Simon Sinek again. At one point from that video, which has probably been viewed a billion times now, he says that Martin Luther King never gave the "I have a plan" speech. Mm-hmm. He gave the "I have a dream" speech. And it was a dream that was bigger than him. In fact, it was so big that it involved like the entire world. The dream was bigger than himself. And I think that's what really vision is. Vision is something that, yes, includes you, but has to be so much bigger than you. It has to be so much bigger that you won't be able to complete it on your own. You need people to come in, to buy in to what you're doing. and to invest in what you're doing because they believe the same things that you believe. So I think as leaders and as entrepreneurs, we have to be casting something that is grand, that is big, that involves other people to get around, to also be passionate about and to give of themselves and to be so invested in a vision that they're not willing to take no for an answer. My Michigan basketball experience still sticks with me today. I really don't remember what some of the stuff that I learned in school. Like I don't really remember. I don't think I used most of the things that I learned in the classroom. But what I learned through that experience are things that I still implement on a daily basis because I was so invested in that vision. Like I own that vision. Like my life was in that vision. And that's what you got to do. You got to put your life into it. And so that's what I would say. Dream big, the Dream Big Club, whatever that dream is, it should be big enough that you can't reach it by yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from Dave Merritt, pastor, entrepreneur, and all-around excellent individual. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dream big and never stop dreaming. But remember, dreams without action are just dreams and often lead to disappointment. So let's get to work. And thank you for listening to My Dream Big Club's podcast. Please leave a review and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whichever podcast app you have. I'm your host, Seun Phillips. Take care. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Also, please leave a comment below to let us know your thoughts on action speaking louder than words.
So dream big is key to making sure that this world is a better place.
If you're interested in personal growth, this is where it happens. If you're interested in a diverse group of people, we all are looking to add value in each other's life. That's what makes this work.